Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Debbie from NDIS Property Australia, and you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. And we have I think he's going to become a regular guest speaker on our podcast. Welcome back, Uwe Jacobs from Property Friends. Hi, Uwe.
Thanks, Debbie. Thanks for having me. Become a regular. That's scary.
Well, I say that because I know that we have another recording scheduled in the future as well. So, yes, that will be this is your second, that will be your third. Hopefully that will also eventuate. So very excited because you have a lot to offer our listeners, I think, with your knowledge from the space. And today we are going to be covering the topic which I'm sure many people will find of great value to listen to: challenges and opportunities as an SDA provider.
Yes.
So, take it away.
Look, I love sharing knowledge. I mean, it helps everybody. A rising tide lifts all ships. You know, fact of the matter is there is a reason for my grey hair. I've been around the block a few times. And it is interesting to me the difference that relationships make, really. And that is, for me, the go or no go, the winning or losing in SDA provision. The first relationship to counter, to enable, to really work well, make work well is the relationship with the NDIA or NDIS. On the challenging side, I've never met a more ambivalent government department. On the one hand, there's a set of people that are really, really great and really want to make a change and really want to support people. On the other hand, what the heck, I'm going to say it the way that I think it. There's a group of people that it sounds terrible, but they're really trained monkeys. They have boxes to fill, and if they can't tick the box, I daren't think outside my box. Yes, the person has said that in a different way, but that doesn't quite match the wording in my box, so I will not tick the box, which means that, we have tried now for 5 Flyman weeks to enroll in SDA. I have uploaded a document 3 times. And, okay, I'm not computer whiz kid. I'm over 60, which means that I automatically don't qualify. But I'm certain that the upload was okay. Now, 3 times I'm getting the same question. And every time it takes a week to get the response, now the upload didn't work, or this is not working, or we have our class 3 dwellings with fire sprinklers. Nowhere does it tell you that you need to upload the certificate for the fire sprinklers. So, there's many pitfalls. So
you're basically expected to know what they want when they don't specify it.
Well, not only that, every person you talk to tells you a different story.
Yeah.
You've been there, clearly.
Well, no, we're obviously we're not, because we're not an SDA provider, but we have heard this story many times.
Yeah.
This is very common.
And it is in all aspects. We've had, here's a challenge. We've had a participant that went into the property on the 6th of January in 2025, this year. Yeah. We did not get paid till the middle of July. And only when I barked up the highest tree that I can bark up, which is the federal minister for the SDA. And when I involved the local LGA representative, did some action happen? And that was all because the plan data wasn't right. But there's this revolving door of people that you cannot talk to because you can't ring anybody other than the helpline, and that is next to useless. Talk about monkeys. Sorry. I get carried away on this stuff. Yeah, but meanwhile, the investor sits there and the bank doesn't say, oh, no, we understand you didn't get the payment, we'll defer the mortgage payment. And of course, the SDA provider sits there and is crying foul too because we don't get paid.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of investors, they think it's all their problem, but it's not. It is as much the SDA provider's problem because you don't get that income, you don't get paid. So it's just as much on you as it is on the investors suffering through this.
And the amount of running around. I'm mainly into detail and taking notes. I can show you 3.5 pages worth of notes. I had 5 different, what do you call them, certificates or no, certificate is the wrong word, reference numbers for my court for the outstanding action. And then in the end, you get an email from somebody higher up in the SDA justifying why the payment didn't go through because some bums got kicked by higher authorities. There is just no responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the annoying.
Yes, and I believe this is partly no responsibility, also complications with the payment portal and the transfer of plans from the old system to the new system.
Yeah.
So there's also delays that are stuck in limbo in that area.
Yeah. Don't get me started on pay. Don't get me. I mean, simple things. Sorry, I just gotta say that simple things like the American date format in the bulk claim. It is crazy. I have a new staff member. I was sitting personally, and I'm doing the claims normally myself. I was thinking, oh, hell no, I can delegate that. I'll show her how to do that. We spent 3/4 of an hour trying to get the flaming Excel spreadsheet to save in the American date format, which you cannot upload unless you've got that. And the Excel seems to be very much intentional on being a good software and changing it to Australian format. So in the end, I had to change my computer settings to the American format to be able to upload. And, I'm no computer whiz kid. So anyway, it's the systems are needing to be obliged to, but that often don't make sense to me. I
can totally see that. And look, this is, becoming a widespread problem. We obviously know of some SDA providers that have, we know that there has been a few out there that have been banned from operating. They've gone into liquidation through bad practices, etc. We know exactly who they are, NDIA, Cocoon. But there are also some good SDA providers that are actually not managing to survive this period at the moment. Just heard yesterday there was a Queensland-based SDA provider who's just gone into voluntary liquidation, and they're quite a decent-sized provider with quite a portfolio. Yep. This is not the first, and this will definitely not be the last.
And look, I can fully understand how that happens. Take the situation that I was talking about before. You don't get paid for half a year. Now, that is certainly an impediment to the cash flow.
Absolutely.
And the costs don't stop. Now, on top of that, you got a lot of SDAs that are filled with one person. So you're sitting on an $800,000 to $1 million asset, and the 10, 12, 14% that we are going to get, hallelujah, brothers and sisters, are not even half. So you're barely covering your cost. If you're lucky, you're covering your cost. But the culmination of several factors coming together, cash flow, utilization, then the amount of work that is happening to find participants, to talk to the different players in the industry, sometimes my leader of the opposition, she who must be obeyed, says, why are you doing this? It don't make financial sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unless you've got properties filled and the money flowing from the NDIS, it's really hard for a business that just does SDA provider work to keep that going. Yeah, I think, as I said, that we're going to see more struggles in that space, definitely in the short term. And look, those are the big challenges. I guess, as you said, there's a lot of other work involved in being an SDA provider. We often have, when we're talking to investors and they say, SDA provider fees are so high. Well, they're higher than a regular property manager, but they do a lot more work.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what is involved in the day-to-day operation of being a SDA provider and a property manager.
That very much depends how you run it. And the reason why I say that is we have a number of properties around Australia. And here I sit as the SDA provider in Melbourne. And I run SDAs in Townsville, in Hobart, very soon in the area of Devonport, Tasmania. And I know of SDA providers that are sitting in Toowoomba and have no local representation and trying to run SDAs in Townsville. That just doesn't work. So we, by default, have layered or connected companies, usually real estate agents, that run property management anyway, and we indoctrinate them into how we run SDAs so that we have somebody locally that can go by and do an inspection, that can look at some damage, that can look at some maintenance, that, heck, dare I say, because we've got a couple of properties that are running really, really well, that turn up with a barbecue as a additional facility for the participants, But I think it's really important to have local contact, not only for the security of the participants and the owners, but also, again, relationships. You want to have somebody local.
At the end of the day, that core function is being a property manager.
Yeah.
It only makes sense that there is a local presence.
Yeah, and last but not least, we're dealing with people, I love every time when I travel, which is 10 days a month. Every time when I travel, I go into the properties, I make appointments, I get access, but I listen to the people and I say, hey, look, what's going on? How can we help? Is there anything that you would do next time different in the design? And our designs have changed dramatically, and through that feedback, we also influence the design of future buildings. I never really wanted to go into robust. Well, we're building too robust now. And I'm a stickler for punishment in design, so I run the design past what I think is one of the most prevalent and best providers of supports in that space. And I was tickled pink with my design. Oh, it was good, Debbie. It was good. She looks at me and she goes, you ain't going to build that, are you? And I said, why? She says, it's got no island bench. I said, what do I need an island bench for? She says, well, to play hide and seek. When the participant has got, let's call it an attack of the heebie-jeebies, and has got a knife in his hand, you want to run around something that is stable and where you can escape and hide behind. And I go, oh, makes sense. So, as far as I'm concerned, you need to talk to the people in the field.
Yeah, 100%. And so that is, obviously, you do help design the properties and build them, get them off the ground, develop them. And that is, I think, a unique space that you meet, that you're also the provider, so you can get that immediate feedback to know what to do better. And obviously your connections in the industry help you do that as well. But just for I guess we speak to a lot of people every week, as you would know, and sometimes we have people that maybe are looking at or have a few SDA properties and they want to become a provider themselves and just manage their own So we often get people calling us who maybe have a couple of properties or a few properties or are looking at investing, and they also want to become their own SDA provider. They look at the fees that providers charge and think, I'm not paying out 15%. I want to keep all that income for myself. And, it's one thing as a larger SDA provider, you're managing plenty of properties, that's all you do. But as someone who maybe, has other lines of work and you're looking at just being your own property manager for your own 2 or 3 SDA provider, SDA properties, I don't think there's enough awareness of what goes on in the background. Yes, you're the property manager, but it's those relationships. And I know we're going to talk about this on a different episode in more detail, so I won't go into that now, but it's the relationships that you need to have as an SDA provider with, firstly, the NDIS, secondly, with the SIL provider, and also be the property manager.
Well, if anybody was going to come to me and say to me, look, I want to become an SDA provider, my first question would be why? Why would you do something silly like that? And if I get the answer, well, I have or can manage 3 to 5 SDA properties, my answer will be don't. The reason is it took us the best part of 8 months and easily $20,000 to get the registration in the first place. Every 2 years, you need to go through audit minimum. If you are really lucky, you can get interim audits. If you're really, really lucky, you will get an invite by the Securities Commission because somebody had an issue or perceived to be an issue. And I flew up to Townsville from Melbourne and attended the meeting, and we got out with flying colours. But there are the administrative side of running an SDA as the provider is huge. From dealing with the SDA, with the NDIA, from the compliance side, from the additional registrations, certifications that you need, from the general overhead. Most SDA providers would agree that it makes sense to run the gardens, the maintenance on the gardens, SDA provider. Yes, according to the rules, we don't need to. But this is the same like the first fit out of the property with the common furniture. We provide that. Why do we do that? Okay, that's 6-8 grand, maybe 10. Why do we do that? Because I don't want Joe, who is the first participant, to say to Mary, who is the second participant, no, you can't sit there. That's my couch. Or you're taking up my fridge space with your milk. It don't make sense. So, and then if Joe, the first participant, for whatever reason moves on or out, what do you do then? So there's a lot of hidden costs,
Yeah. And just, as you said, the compliance and the paperwork from the NDIS side of things, the enrollment, it's messy. And look, that's exactly what we say to people too. Like, don't go. Don't even think of going there. It's just not worth it. Trust me, pay the 15%.
And lucky.
And be happy about it.
Get 15%. I had what I refer to as a very high-level discussion with a family that sought us out. And the lady said, look, I've got an offer by a company that, interestingly now, has gone out of business. Sounds like NDISP. That is offering me 10%. And I went, okay, I'll tell you what we do. I'll give you 10% for 6 months. I'll prove our worth, and then you and I will renegotiate. It makes no sense to undercut the market because ultimately, if the business doesn't make at least a little bit of money, you won't stay in business, as we have seen.
Exactly.
And what good is that for anybody? Ultimately, I talk about relationships, but the real important thing about relationships is about long-term relationships. That's what makes the SDA sing. If I can create a set of circumstances where the people go in and they love living there, well, they won't move. That's what makes it work.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so that's some of the challenges of being an SDA provider. Let's be a bit more positive here. What are some of the opportunities?
Well, one of the opportunities, if product pays and the system plays its game well, you get paid within 2 days. If it is plan managed, agency managed, okay, within a week, but that's still not bad. So, the
Do you want to just explain what that means? I know we've probably touched on that on different episodes before, but just for those people who may not have heard what plan managed is, what agency managed is.
Sure. Sorry, you forget when you're doing it day to day, you forget. So plan managed means that the plan, the funding, the services of the participant is managed through the NDIA. If that happens...
That's agency managed.
Sorry, did I? Oh,
yeah.
Lucky I'm talking.
Don't confuse them now.
I'm talking to an expert. That's agency managed. My apologies. Agency through the NDIA agency. So what that means is that you upload, provided that the plan is in place nowadays in the new system, you simply upload in our case, monthly payment claim, and that upload is not so simple, but that's by the by. And provided that everything is okay and goes through the system, within 2 days, you've got the funds in the account. Now, that is nice cash flow. So, assuming that what I've said before, you've got participants that are happy in the house, that in an ideal world stay in the house 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that sets up a rhythm and makes it very simple to have recurring claims that are easy to administer. So that is and fantastic.
Your income coming through every month on the dot and smooth sailing. Okay, so tell us about plan managed. What does that refer to?
Some participants choose to have expert companies, plan managers, to look after their fund. That's the way that
Often that might be an accountant who's registered as a plan manager, or just a specific plan management company.
There are management companies, and some are excellent, some are a bit different. Yeah, so they look after the payments of those people, which means that rather than entering the invoice effectively into the pay system, you submit a physical invoice to the plan manager. And that invoice then gets paid again, provided that the plan is in the system and everything is okay. You get paid in usually 7 days, which is still not bad. So, if it...
But you are relying on a party in the middle there.
Needs to approve the funds, needs to administer, blah, 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 blah.
Do they go through that process every month of looking at that and saying approved, even though it was exactly the same the month before, the year before?
Because they are responsible for the plan, for the expenses of that participant. Yes, they have to. And there are some really good ones. And I want to, can I say a company name? I want to give a shout out to Emily's Hope. They have done really, really well. We had 3 invoices outstanding, and the owner of the property, which is a self-provider, had written off $7,000. And Emily's Hope chased it up for us. So that was fantastic. There are some really...
So when you say they were a self-provider, what do you mean by that?
The family has built a home for their son.
Right.
So they set up a specific structure. You can do that under the NDIA. It needs to be a separate company and trust, and there's a bit of complications, but they did it to ensure that there is no possibility that anybody can kick their son out. And they also took the routing of building a very specific property that fits the needs and requirements of their son down to a T, which of course you can do when you do it for yourself. Now, the challenge that they have is they built the property so specific that at the moment there is only the one participant in there. And again, for an $800,000 expense, that is challenging. But I'm sure we will come up with a second participant that likes to live with a young man. And it's a great location. It's a great property. It's a big property, 240 square meters. for 2 people.
Oh, that is big, yeah.
And it's downright gorgeous.
And where is that?
The Townsville area, which is part
In
of
Townsville. So if anyone is looking for a beautiful, big, luxurious, amazing home in Townsville, reach out to him.
He's good support. It's a great location. The young gentleman is fine. The family is great, and it's beautiful location. So yeah.
Yeah, good to hear. All right. So what other opportunities do you see there are for SDA providers?
The opportunities, and it may sound esoteric, I feel we can make a change. We can really help people. I often say that Property Friends is a provider of choice. We choose to do more than we have to. And if I can generate, and I said it before, if I can establish a property in a magnificent location, do the right thing by everybody. I mean, we have spent $7,500 on a solar PV system, for which we don't get a cent more in income. However, we at least half, if not take 3/4 of the energy expenses out for the participant. Now, that's not only doing the right thing, but it's also, and of course I've got a hidden agenda, it is also making our property more desirable. So I call that a win-win. I love win-win.
Absolutely. And look, this comes down to, investors who want to future-proof their properties. We talk a lot about that. It's working with the SDA provider post-completion. You've done what you can previous to, but post-completion to finding out what other things can be done to make the property more desirable.
And treat, whatever you do, treat people as people. I mean, if I spend $400 on a barbecue and give that to the 3 participants, and this is the only property that we've got with 3 participants, but the guys are getting on like a house on fire, and interestingly enough, 2 males, 1 female. So, they're getting on like a house on fire. And last time when I was there, we were chatting, and one of the guys sort of hits me up from the side and says, look, you couldn't get us a barbecue, could you? I love barbecue. Like, I haven't had a barbecue for a year. And I go, sure. So I talked to the owners. I mean, what's $300-$400, If you can assure that the people are happy and stay. Treat people as people.
100%. Definitely. Good result.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah.
And flexibility with the participants, I think, is important. Another case, this is a story from the streets, from the trenches. We had an occasion where the participant had visitors from the family coming from interstate. Now, we have a spare room. We generally do a media room, and we generally have a robe in there. So when the pesky in-laws, outlaws, or whatever come, what's wrong with allowing them to stay for a week?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If I can give them a closer family connection, again, that's a win-win.
Look, it's their home. They should have the ability to provide that for their family who might be interstate and want to come and visit or whatever.
You're raising a very good point there. It's their home, Why would I not allow somebody to put in a high garden bed? If they like gardening, great. I even pay for it,
Totally.
And give people the privacy and the opportunity to make it their home. With our builds, when I've got the anchor tenant with the first tenant, I always jokingly say, if you want the wall with green polka dots, I'll make it for you with green polka dots. It's not my thing, but if that's what makes you happy, it makes no difference to me whether we paint it sand color or green polka dots. Make it their home.
It is, that's right. It is their home. So, look, that's a really nice way of putting the opportunities, is just to be able to make participants happy in their homes, give them what they need to feel that it is their forever home. And that's a really important thing. I think that probably most of the larger SDA providers may not really have the ability to do.
Well, that's why we are.
Or the will.
Yeah. That's why we are staying niche, and I go for quality, not for quantity. And I love being flexible, and I love being able to do something different. I mean, again, relationships.
Totally. And I really want to talk more about relationships. We won't do that today. Have you got any more thoughts that we haven't touched on as to the challenges and opportunities that you see, that you come across in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, look, again, there is opportunities in flexibility when I have got, and heck, I don't mind admitting we've had a property that was empty for 3 months because I very much focus on getting the right mix of participants. And, it is challenging when you're getting desperate. So there are opportunities in short-term rentals. You can do respite, you can do MTA, medium-term accommodation, where you get 90 days, up to 90 days on a very good daily rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's what the equivalent of about 65,000 per annum.
Exactly.
MTA.
Now,
yeah.
If I can get that to bridge the gap and to get some income into the house for the owners, that relieves a lot of pain and stress.
Definitely.
So it's one of the opportunities is be flexible. Think outside the box. There are ways to get out of the challenging corners. What's wrong with having, if you have a property, as it happens so often these days, where there's one SDA funded participant in there? What's wrong with opening the second room up to a SIL person that doesn't have SDA funding? Yes, you don't get the 30, 40, 50, whatever $1,000, but having $15,000 or not having $15,000 makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So think outside the box.
Yep, totally. We talk a lot about that. Certainly our SDA Housing Assist team are very proactive when it comes to, especially if they're working with a property owner who does have one tenant and they are looking for others. A big part of the strategy is really helping them understand the benefit of having someone in there regardless of whether they have SDA funding or not. Because as we all know, a lot of SIL funded participants may well qualify for SDA down the track.
Correct.
So, you've already got them in the house, living there.
Correct. And again, this is where connections into the market are crucial. I've spoken about it before. We love sitting down with people and planning long term. That's what makes it sing.
That's what it should be. Well, thank you so much, Uwe. It's been a pleasure again. Wonderful to get your insights and hear the challenges you're going through, but how you're making it work.
In the end,
which is really good to hear. That is what it's all about. And it sounds like you've got some very lucky tenants in the properties that you manage. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And so that's it for us for today. And thank you, Uwe.
If anybody wants to look us up?
Oh, yes, I should you can definitely tell us how they can reach you. Sorry, I forgot that bit.
That's all right. Easiest is the website www.propertyfriends.com.au. There's a section for SDA. At the bottom of each page, there is a chance to book a discovery call. My wife says about me that I talk underwater. So I'm always up for a chat, or send us an email. Again, the details on the website, propertyfriends.com.au. Thanks very much, Debbie.
Fantastic. Thanks, Uwe. Bye-bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.